So today you're going to learn how to grow heirloom basil and then save its seeds, so let's jump right into it. Now the first thing you're going to need is some heirloom basil seeds if you don't already have some. This way you can grow the basil so that you can harvest the seeds to plant the next year's garden with. And these heirloom basil seeds from Botanical Interests have done well for me, so if you're interested in purchasing them, I'll put a link to them down below in the description box. So here's how to plant them. When the spring hits and it's safe to plant your garden, I'll just sprinkle a few seeds into a hole that's only about an 1/8 inch deep or so. Basically, you're planting them just below the soil surface and then pushing a tiny bit of dirt over them, and then of course regularly watering. And then if all of the seeds germinate and you have more than one plant growing, when they reach a couple of inches tall, I'll just pluck the smaller plants and leave the largest one growing. And then after a few weeks, they'll look like a baby plant like you're seeing here. And then they'll grow big and bushy like you're seeing here in this video. And me and my wife really enjoy harvesting the leaves and using them in our dinners at home. But when it gets closer to the end of the growing season, the basil will drop whatever leaves you haven't harvested, and they'll start producing these large stems full of tiny little flowers. And it's actually those tiny little flowers that contain the heirloom seeds that you're going to be going after. Now you don't want to try to get the seeds from the flowers that still have color in them like you see here. You want to get the seeds from the flowers that have died and have turned brown and brittle like what's being shown in the video here. Now the easiest thing that I have found to do is to just use your fingers to strip all of those tiny dead flowers off of the stem. And then I'll just take those dead little flowers and I'll dump them into a metal mesh strainer and just use my hands to grind and break them up. What you're doing here is much quicker than individually opening each little flower to get the 2 or 3 or 4 little seeds that each little flower will contain. And now since I have ground the flowers up, which will have released the small basil seeds, now I'll just dump them onto a plate and then go outside and just lightly blow to blow the flower petals away. The flower petals are lighter in weight than the seeds, so when you blow, the flower petals will blow away, leaving the seeds behind. And then you just need to repeat this process a couple of times until you only have the seeds left. And now I'll just put the seeds into a paper envelope and store them in a cool, dark place in my house over the winter. And then I'll plant those seeds the next growing season. And then the process will start all over again. I'll plant 2 or 3 seeds just below the soil surface, then I'll push a little bit of dirt over them, then I'll pluck the smallest plants when they reach a few inches tall just to leave the largest one growing, and then I'll harvest the leaves for food throughout the growing season. And at the end of the growing season, then I'll strip the dead flowers and then I'll grind them up to release the seeds, and then I'll blow away the flower petals. And then lastly, I'll put my seeds up for the winter so that I can plant them the next growing season. And if you would like to learn how to tap a maple tree to make your own homemade maple syrup, even from a maple tree that you have in your front yard, then click on the video that should be appearing on the right side of the screen just about now. Anyways folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.